Good evening. Welcome to the Ankrum Special Planning Board meeting of February 11th. This is a work session. It's open to the public for viewing, but for not participation. The purpose of this meeting was to try to finish out the EAF for Homeland Towers. So with that being said, Nan, are you on?
Yep, I am here.
Okay. Joe, can I ask one question before we start?
Certainly.
I was concerned that we were looking at the height of the tower and 100-foot versus their ability to go higher to 120. That when we go through this, do we look at it as a 100-foot tower or a 120-foot tower? Because when I began to kind of prep for this and look through some of the readings on that, it seemed like we have to consider the entirety of the project if they're not coming back to the board for review. And I just felt like we needed to get an answer for that before we moved further.
Well, yes, please.
Let me turn that on.
Sure. You should be considering, even though an eligible facility request has the option to go higher, your application in front of you is for the 100-foot tower. So that's what you should be considering.
Right, because
Not
when I looked into it, it talked about this issue of segmentation on applications.
Yeah, but that application, there's no, I mean, it's always a possibility. It's a hypothetical possibility. So you have to look at what's in front of you, not what could happen.
Okay, because that would just, all right, which is, this is the problem. What you're saying to me is very different from what I found.
There's no application for.
No, I realize there's no application for a 120-foot tower, but when I look at the seeker handbook, it seems to be pretty clear that if there is an action that they can do before, without coming back to the board, which it sounds like that's what it would be if they wanted to go higher, that we'd have to consider the full impact as we go through this. And I mean, I can show you the section in the handbook.
No, my advice to you is to be considering the 100-foot. That's what's in front of you.
No, I understand that. That's in front of
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Isn't that an amended application if that was to happen? Don't they have to come back in front of us anyway?
Can I say something? We're talking to our attorney, our people. Okay.
So, I mean, Tom, there is something to what you read in terms of when a project is, the idea behind seeker is not to have projects fed through the process piecemeal. Okay. So that's what segmentation discourages. And in the broadest sense, an example would be a phased project or a project that's going to go forward in pieces. So sometimes under those circumstances, you look at the master plan, or you want to look at all phases of the project at the same time. At the present time, you have the tower is what the application is for. You've been made aware of the fact that it would be possible for the applicant to make an eligible facilities request at some point in the future, but that's not guaranteed to happen. And so
I understand everything you're saying there.
Yep.
Just that everything I'm reading is the opposite of that. It's saying that even though the application doesn't say that, even though they haven't come forward with it, if it's a potential without coming back to the planning board for review, that it has to be considered in the whole. And I don't know if Nan has any information.
I'll let Nan speak to it. I don't know, Nan, do you have an opinion on
I
this?
just feel like it's pretty important to figure this out before we decide.
Understood.
If we're looking at 100 or 120 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I would go based on the legal counsel on it, but I think that again, this isn't a phased project. If it was a phase and they had come forward with, we're going to do 100-foot now, and at some point in the future, we're going to do another 20 feet, then yes, you look at the whole, but this is an application for a 100-foot tower.
But they have the right to go to 120 feet without coming back to us.
Well, that's not completely true. I mean, they do have to come back and get a permit. There are constraints on whether you can disapprove an application for that. It depends on whether, we discussed this a little bit last time. It depends on whether the eligible facilities request, number one, falls within the dimensional restrictions that are set forth in the federal law about those kinds of antennas. And the second has to do with whether or not the addition of the antenna has an adverse effect on the camouflage elements of the existing tower. So it's not, even though discretion is limited, there still are parameters that need to be met in connection with an eligible facilities request.
But again, I'm going up the secret handbook guidance. The whole action must be considered. Future steps that are likely or reasonably foreseeable need to be considered.
I mean, we can try to find it for you, but I believe that there are cases that are out there that stand for the principle that if there's no plan on the part of the applicant for additional steps with regard to the project, that your review is confined to the application that's in front of you.
All right, I mean, it's unfortunate it's coming up now. I didn't expect to kind of run into this when I started.
Yeah, understood. And we'll take a look. I'm happy to
There's
take a
two
look.
cases that they cite here. I can send you what I found.
Yeah, I have the secret handbook with me at all times, even at birthday parties. So I'm familiar with it, and it's a great resource. I mean, that's the reason I have it with me all the time. It's a great resource, but and we'll run this down. I'm not prepared for the absolute granular details on this tonight either.
Right. I just don't want us to go through a whole process and then have it come back that we completely didn't do this the right way.
Yeah. Well, the plan for tonight, just so you know, our hope is that you're going to be able to complete the preparation of the full environmental assessment form part 2. And if you get to that point, then Nan's going to lead you into a discussion of the EAF part 3. And hopefully you get to a point where we can take a straw vote on your determination of significance. And then what would happen next is our firm and Nan would collaborate on the drafting of the EAF part 3 and the negative declaration for you to adopt at your next meeting. So there's a little bit of space between tonight's meeting and then we can take a look at it. If we have to zig or zag, depending on what the answer to that question is, there's a little bit of room to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
I just have a quick question to follow up that maybe you could add when you review Tom's question about, you said that is a permitting process. Is that in our zoning law that if that comes back for an additional 20 feet that we have the process in our zoning law for either the planning board to review? Or would just be the zoning enforcement officer?
There would be 2 pieces of it. Mr. Kenny indicated at the last meeting that a variance would be required if this applicant came back to put an antenna on top of the 100-foot tower. But then you would, the other criteria that I was discussing in response to Tom's comment have to do with the federal law requirements for an eligible facilities request.
Thank you.
Sorry to lead off with that. I just had it.
Actually, it was a very logical time to raise that, but we'll take a look.
Nan, do you want to get us started with where
Yep.
we're going?
Yep. So where we're at in the FEAF part 2 is 3 questions that remain unanswered, but I wanted to just take a couple minutes just to refresh everybody on what you have accomplished on the FEAF part 2 already, because that will be when we move from the part 2 into the part 3, having a refreshing yourself on what you have covered already, I think is going to be very helpful. So I'm just going to, for those on line, I don't know if you can see my shared screen.
No.
Is it up?
No. There you go.
I can make it bigger. Hold on. So there's 18 questions in the FEAF, and some of the questions are these broad questions that start, is there an impact on land or a potential impact on land? And at previous planning board meetings, you have gone through each one of these questions and determined that there's either a no or a small impact. So you would read this and say, yes, the proposed action involves construction and physical alteration of the land surface, but it does not have any moderate to large impacts to the water table, to steep slopes, on exposed bedrock. It's not removing a large amount of natural material. It's not going to continue construction for more than a year. And it does not include increased erosion, which we have addressed through the stormwater related features, and not using treatment with herbicides. And then it's not in a coastal hazard, erosion hazard area. So when we recognize that there is going to be physical alteration of the land, but these were all shown as no or small impact. And unfortunately, this column, we don't really distinguish between on this form between a no impact and a small impact, but we can in our statements when we get to part 3, we can include that in our rationale and expand on some of those that may be a small impact and not a no impact. Geological features. This question is oriented to what's called unique or unusual landforms. Those are like don't have anything like, so that was a no, that it's not even an issue. Surface water, this one was checked yes, to recognize that there is a wetland on the parcel, not necessarily within the limits of disturbance. And that we are there is going to be some disturbance that does change water flow or has the potential to change water flow. But again, in analyzing the questions, these were all marked as no or small impact may occur. It's not, we're not creating new water bodies or discharging water into water bodies, removing, dredging or anything like that. So these really, we want to recognize that we have to take care of erosion and stormwater through proper planning, but they would be, when you follow DEC SWIP rules and methods, it's presumed to have no impact. So these were all marked off as no or small impact. Groundwater, the question is, would the action result in new or additional use of groundwater or have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer? It's again, there is a slim chance there's a generator there. Whenever you do anything on the ground, there could be a chance that something could happen to groundwater. So that was checked off as yes. And as before, none of the conditions that these questions explore, which are oriented to try and identify whether there are any specific impacts, they were all marked as no or small impact. Impact on flooding was marked as a no because there's no floodplain or flooding characteristics on the parcel, or at least in the limits of disturbance. I don't recall if there was any floodplain elsewhere on the parcel. I don't think there was. So that was a no. Impacts on air. And the important thing about this one is that it's oriented to whether the action may include a state regulated air emission source. So those are, smokestacks and lots of particulate matter being emitted into the air. And so this particular action does not have any of those. So that was marked no. Our impact on plants and animals, that was marked as yes, because there is disturbance, and we want to recognize that there very well may be some species that are using that part of the parcel that may be impacted. And then when we analyze the questions here, there are no either individuals or habitats used by rare, threatened, or endangered species or species of special concern or their habitats. That there's not a national natural landmark in Ancrum, that there's no designated significant natural community, and these are usually identified by DEC. Ancrum has your significant habitats map that is locally developed to identify significant habitats, but the limits of disturbance that was not an issue here. I'm going to just skip G for 1 second and go to H, that it's not converting more than 10 acres of forest. And that's getting at, are we fragmenting forests or important meadow areas? That's not the case. And it doesn't involve the use of herbicides or pesticides. And going back to this one, which this G here is often the one that at the very local level, on a parcel level like this, that there are most likely birds that are using that area, small mammals, and other species. And so this would be one that I think, anytime you build on the landscape, you run the risk of interfering or displacing species. So I think if, as we move forward, when we get to recognizing and putting our rationale together for whatever decision you make, is to recognize that there could be impacts there. And then you would, you really have to look at the size of the disturbance area. So those were previously discussed by the planning board and marked off as no to small impact. Agricultural resources was checked as a no, that this would not impact agricultural resources at all. So when you check no, then you kind of skip on to the next question. Number 9, I have this highlighted here. That is where we have left to be discussed until you had all of the visual simulations and analysis, so that you had the information to answer these questions. Well, let's skip over that just for a minute so I can finish my kind of refresher. Impact on historical and archaeological resources. That was a no. There were none of those resources on site. Impact on open space and recreation. And this is looking at, is there going to be a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of an open space resource that's designated in any adopted open space plan? So Ancrum doesn't necessarily have a specific open space plan. You have the NRI, you have the comprehensive plan, you have your significant habitats map, but and then the rail trail on the other side. But those weren't, you determined that there were no impacts on those resources. Same thing with number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. These are specific locations established by the town through seeker to identify critical environmental areas that are specific to the community, and there are none in Ancrum. Impact on transportation. It's not affecting Route 22 or any side roads or town roads. So that was a no. Impact on energy looks at will there be an increase in the use of any form of energy? Um, I guess there is a little bit of energy used, but it's not like a housing development or a big commercial development or a data center or anything like that. So that was previously, again, this was previously checked no by the planning board. Similarly, impact on noise, odor, and light. That will it result in an increase in noise, odors, and outdoor lighting. And you determined that based on the information you were given, that was no, that it would not cause an increase. We do have, there is a generator that's included, a small generator, and that is kind of self-contained for noise reduction. So that was considered no impact. Impact on human health is looking at actions that might have an impact on human health from exposure to various chemicals and contaminants, and that is also not a part of this particular action. So that leaves us the last two questions that we have to go over tonight is one with is consistency with community plans, and then consistency with community character. So I hope that would reframe where your analysis has gone through to this point. And so unless you have questions on any of that, I would say that we need to go back to 9. I think that's a place to start because the discussions that you will have on 9, which is oriented to the aesthetic resources, are relevant to the discussion in question 18, which is community character. So I think the best way to do this really is like we've done in the past. We just go question by question and have a discussion about how you feel about it. And if we need to, the seeker workbook, not the handbook, but the seeker workbook offers examples of what it means for something like how do you tell the difference between something that's a small impact or a moderate to large impact. So if we need to pull any of those examples up, I can get them up on my screen and share them with you. So any questions before we launch into number 9?
Just a quick question. Do we have a blank copy of the form? Because I don't have a.
I don't know what you have on paper. I can mark things on this version as I go along.
But it'd be nice if we had a. Like
Yeah,
Sarah's
okay.
got.
Okay.
Do you want to wait a minute?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
let's get one minute.
Okay. So maybe as we're waiting for the paper copy, we can, you're well aware of the concerns and the issues related to visual impact. But to frame that, this the scenic resource is the scenic overlay district. The town had included a scenic overlay district in the zoning for many years. So the resource is the scenic overlay. And then to kind of frame the rest of it is to remind you that the 100-foot height of the tower is what is allowed in the zoning in the scenic overlay district. And a lot of times as we have done with other projects in Ankrum, we look at issues related to ridge lines and development at the very top of the ridge line. that interrupts the horizon and creates a different view and disruption of the views compared to this situation, which it's not on a ridge line. It's framed with landscape behind it, so it's not sticking up above, like on the top of one of the hills. So this doesn't have the same kind of silhouette that we have had in, with other kinds of development and that we're concerned about here. So we have within the scenic overlay, we have Route 22. So that's the traveling community along route going up and down Route 22. We have views that you were concerned about from the rail trail and other public locations within the scenic overview or overlay. So are you ready to jump into the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is the proposed action may be visible from an officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. And that, in our case, that's the scenic overlay. So there is a officially designated aesthetic resource there. So your discussions should concentrate based on the information that you have from the viewshed analysis, the photo simulations, the information that they've given you, George James's review of it. All of that really will help you identify whether you think this is no impact, a small impact, or a moderate to large impact. And in part 3, as John mentioned, the next step, this is not to identify whether the view is ultimately, whether the impacts are ultimately significantly adverse. This is just kind of frame, is there a potential for small or moderate to large impacts? In some of that, we'll get, if depending on how you discuss this one, that gets further discussed. Any moderate to large impact gets further analyzed in part 3, where we answer the questions, well, how much of a magnitude of an impact this is? How long, how wide a spread does it have? What's the duration? Is it permanent? Is it temporary? Is it only during construction or what? And that helps us determine whether that impact is likely significant or not. Because there's lots of times when we have identified moderate to large impacts, but that various changes to the project have mitigated that impact so that it may be a moderate to large impact, but we've mitigated it so that it's no longer significant. And that's the discussion that we would have in the part 3. So anyway, enough of my talking. What do you all have to say about A?
I'll go first. I think this is a moderate to large impact given the choices that we have.
And can you offer some rationale as to why you feel that way?
Yes, because it is, you can see this visually from the designated scenic resources being anywhere, not anywhere, but a large part of the valley. And the valley as a resource is designed to be, I think, open and clear to give you, to kind of preserve that part of the valley. There are probably other larger things that could be in there, like if there was a cement plant or something like that. But given our choices that we have moderate to large, I'd have to go with that over no or small impact.
I completely disagree. I went to the definition of scenic corridor overlay zone. And if you read it and go through it, it's about basically, just to make it very simple, how you see the mountain ranges. And that's the beauty of what we're looking at. Then I go to this structure, maybe it's 10 feet wide. How does that affect how you see the visual corridor. And I think it's small. It's 10 feet wide. If I went there today again, sat directly in front of where the tower is going to be, if you look up and you see, imagine where the tower is going to be, you're going to be looking at the sky. You can't see the mountains from that point, even with the leaves off the trees. So I think it's been located in a position where it really doesn't have a major impact. I think it's screened from the most part from 22. I don't think looking back from the rail trail is the intention of the scenic overlook corridor. It's to look at the mountains, not to look at Route 22. So that's my feel.
I just think it's saying proposed action may be visible. Yes, it's gonna be visible in the full valley.
Well, I don't know about the whole valley.
Well, part of it.
Yeah.
We're looking at the worst one, for examples, moderate to large impact. For this one specifically, some examples, moderate to large impacts that might fall into this category of the project will be visible and is in contrast to surrounding land uses by virtue of its scale, dimension, color, or height. I think that's true, more true than the parallel small impact example is the project will be partly visible, but is not in sharp contrast. I agree with everything you said. I'm just reading from the examples of small and moderate. To figure out myself on how.
Because I feel we're dealing with the requirements of the scenic overlay district, which is, 1,500 feet deep into the field. And now,
They're not asking that, they're just saying may it be visible.
right,
Once they officially designated.
Right.
I mean, the base may not be visible, but the tower itself is going to be visible. That's the problem.
It's gonna be visible. The question is, how big of an impact is that?
And I
It's definitely
think
gonna be visible.
a lot of that area,
Yeah,
so like from. From 22 to the base of the mountains on the other side of the valley, from. Not Red Pond, to see it around that one corner, but almost that far down to up by like where the pull-up is. You'll probably be able to see it from a lot of those places.
And a lot of those places you're mentioning are not in our scenic corridor overlay zone,
So
but they're
this,
in the northeast,
shaded.
but that whole valley, yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be busy.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
there's very fun. So
I mean,
that's-
we're given a choice of no or small and moderate to large, so it's really hard. It's definitely me. I can't say no or small.
I feel that way.
I do appreciate that this is the board's stuff, but am I allowed to make any
I
comment?
don't,
No, I think so.
I think you're after.
no, you have a biased opinion, so.
Well, it is a biased opinion, but it is also my application, and there's a part of this discussion that's going on that's missing a key point.
no, it's up to council. Can you speak?
You can speak if you want to, but.
I have a problem with that because it's disruptive to our process.
Yeah, I'd rather hear what we need to.
We rarely.
Just wanted to check with
He'll
council.
have an opportunity to refute what we say later or add to it later, but I think
Okay.
for us, we just have to go with what we have.
Understood, that made the request.
So I didn't hear everyone around the table because the microphones weren't picking it up quite well. Is there a consensus of?
no.
No, okay. So also remember that even if you mark something as moderate to large, that in part 3 you can analyze whether there have been mitigation done, such as lowering the height. It originally was 150 and now it's at 100. The camouflage, the location. Are there things that have been done or other things that could be done to mitigate that moderate to large impact so it's no longer significant? So the key in seeker is really at the end, excuse me, at the end is significance.
Right.
Oh, so we're still on A.
We're still
talking about
on A, and we can go through the others if that would give you a little bit of, you can come back and circle around that.
I don't know. In my opinion, A is pretty straightforward. It may be visible from a designated resource, and we're definitely going to see it. And I agree that we can look into it later, but it's it definitely can't be no. I mean, in my view, it says proposed action may be visible. If we click no, that's, I don't think that's right. I think it's moderate to large. It's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and remember the part 3 really analyzes those items that are marked moderate to large. So if we selected no or small, then that would not get the same kind of attention in part 3.
Do we need to go around the table? You said,
I said moderate to large.
we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Where's everyone else at?
Huh?
Where you at?
I'm kind of on the fence in between, so, uh,
Well, you said we can redo
we
it.
can
again.
redo it, and also, but yeah,
I mean, it's not the last word on it.
right,
It's-
so we can
that's-
say
yeah.
moderate.
Where are you at?
So you want to choose moderate to large for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so the next one, so each of these kind of analyzes a different aspect of the visual impacts. And this one is the action may result in the obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated views. So that's really looking at is something that's being built going to block a significant view.
I don't think it blocks the view.
No, like
Yeah.
they noticed.
I don't think you can see it from the one scenic overview that you have on 22. It's too far down to see it from there, I think. So
Yeah.
I would go with no.
Agreed.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay.
Of course,
The next one is that it's
120 feet.
visible from publicly accessible vantage points. And then we look at that two ways, either both seasonally, when it may be screened by vegetation, or year-round, like now where the leaves are off the trees. So we'll take them one at a time. So first identify the publicly accessible vantage points that you want to frame this discussion around.
So
Where are
the
those?
entire rail trail, a publicly,
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
and Route 22.
Route
And
22.
So, yes, it's moderate. and
So I
moderate.
think it's has to be moderate to large. It's seen from
It's
the
always.
whole rail trail almost.
And are you talking about seasonally and year-round, or just one or the other?
I missed that. I was listening.
Yeah, I didn't hear Joe, sorry.
Yeah.
Joe?
Just being seen, is it a large impact now? Just seeing something doesn't mean it's a large impact.
Well, it says, may it be visible? And I guess I'm kind of weighing on it, is it kind of visible or is it visible from everywhere? And I think it's visible from everywhere.
It's also not
Did
asking
you see
for
the
that
last
impact.
photographs that they showed?
Yeah. But like, I mean, my husband owns a bike shop. We're on the rail trail almost every day in the summer. Like you can see it from the rail trail. I'm not saying it's like gonna ruin my life. I'm just saying I can see it the whole way on the rail trail. So I think that's a moderate to large impact.
But I mean, the question is, maybe visible. So I think it's definitely
It's visible.
visible. Yeah.
In a lot of places.
Yeah,
Well, if we
it's
say
probably
it's
less
technically
visible in leaf on
it
versus
could
leaf
be
off, but it's still visible.
I still think it's pretty visible because most of that's marshland right there on the rail trail, so there's no trees blocking it.
Yeah,
Because the tree line is between 22 and it, there's no trees from it to the rail trail.
yeah.
But it doesn't make sense to say yes, say it's moderate in A and not say it's moderate in C.
Agreed.
It's sort of the same question.
Yeah.
So are you in agreement that for both seasonal and year-round, this would be, you're looking at moderate to large?
Yeah.
With the visibility,
I
yeah.
guess I think that some of us are saying.
So the next one is the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action. The first one is routine travel. That would be travel along Route 22. And the second one would be recreational or tourism-based activities. That would be the rail trail.
I mean, I don't think we can be that black and white. Because if we think about recreation or tourism, most people are coming up here on 22 and on the rail trail. And then routine travel by residents. I mean, yes, that is a huge tourist draw, but also a lot of residents use the rail trail. I don't think we can differentiate them that way.
Are we supposed to? I mean.
I'm just saying, I think the rail trail and 22 are both used by
Yes.
residents and
It's
tourists.
both, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean,
Well, again, I definitely see it.
exactly. It's like, feel like it's like the elephant in the room.
Oh.
It's like, it's there.
There.
Hey, Nan, would looking into the workbook, provide any assistance to the board?
It could, that's certainly up to them. I can get it up.
Yeah, it gives us some guidance there.
Let's take a look at.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let me get to the right. So the
Yes.
so I can read you some of the, well, I think here, let me move this over and see if you can. Is that up on the screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the workbook for question 9. And so let's see, we're on D. So this is a gotta find the right one. C. They don't have these no. Oh, here we go. D. The situation or activity in which is engaged in. So the analysis is that they offer here is how often will members of the community view the project site? Is the project site in or viewed from a scenic or aesthetic resource that is important to recreation in the area or to tourism? If so, how? How will the project site change the use or perception about the scenic resource, or will it change that perception of that resource? And then these are some examples. So and these are just examples. It doesn't mean that these are cut and dry in totally specific to this situation, but it's the example of a small impact would be it's visible from minor roads used by a limited number of local residents only and is not part of a recreation or tourism related activity, or a limited portion of the project site is visible, but because it's not in sharp contrast to the scenic resource or surrounding land use, there's no diminishment of the designated resource. And then contrary to that, the moderate to large impact examples are it's visible from major roads that are highly traveled by residents and visitors, that it's visible from, is in, or obstructs a scenic resource that plays a key role as part of the recreation or tourist asset of the community, and that because it's in sharp contrast to the scenic resources and surrounding land uses, it will significantly reduce the enjoyment and appreciation of the scenic resource. So that I think does give you, you know, some the integral relationship between recreation and the scenic resource.
I mean, I think the part where it's saying routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work, I think that would be a moderate to large impact. Further example of moderate to large, it's visible from major roads that are highly traveled by, I mean, that is 22.
Yeah, I agree on that. But the second one and the third one get a little tougher.
The recreational or tourism based activities.
Yeah, is it interfering with recreation?
I mean, so. I mean, again, it says like while viewing, but then if you go down to E, that's where it says proposed action may cause a diminishment of public enjoyment and appreciation.
I mean, Do you feel that the having the cell tower there would make people not want to drive this Route 22 or go on the rail trail?
I mean, we don't have any choice.
I don't think it would stop people from doing it, just that it's something that's different from what the scenic part is.
Enjoyment and appreciation.
Yeah,
the
which is a
scenic
hard thing to.
resource.
D2 and E are two
Significant.
separate questions.
Significant.
That's two different questions.
Yeah, but
I think
they're linked. They're linked.
I think if you look at the small impact, neither of those is true. So does that forcibly make it a large impact?
Well, what do you
Like
say?
the project,
Oh,
like, because those two examples in the small impact
oh, yeah,
are certainly not true,
right.
because
Ours are bigger impact from that.
it is visible from big roads and it is part of a recreational or tourism related activity, and a limited portion of the site, is visible, but because it is not in sharp contrast to the scenic resources surrounding land uses, there will be no diminishment of designated resource. To me, neither of those things is true. That doesn't necessarily mean that the moderate to large is true either, but to me, the small is not true.
That's a good point.
And a lot of people come here to ride the rail trail, specifically like from Millerton up and back, and go right past it. So they're definitely going to see it. It's going to be visible. It's a huge tourism draw.
Question is, does it obstruct the scenic resource? That's the part that I'm stuck on.
Which number? Or that?
Yeah, so it's a, project site is visible from, is in, well, all right, let me read this right. The project site is visible from, yes, is in, yes, or, it's an or there, or obstructs a scenic resource. So 1 and 2 in that sentence are true, and 3 is debatable if you consider it obstructing.
But it says or, so you have to hit all three.
And that's what I'm saying.
And.
Yeah, so I'm saying 1 and 2 and 3 is an or, so it's kind of like if 1 and 2 are true, then it is.
I just don't think we can honestly say it's gonna have no or small impact when the question is saying the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing this is recreational or tourism. Yes, but they will see it while they're recreating and tourisming.
But what's the impact? What's the impact? Somebody's not going to do it?
That's not it's not asking if they're gonna do it or not. That's on the next one is the next question. This question is only asking, is recreational tourism based activities going to be the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action? I mean, if we didn't have the rail trail going through there, I think it would be a much smaller impact, but the rail trail was right next to it. And that's, I mean, my husband owns a business that I would say 50% of the profit is based on tourists coming up and riding the bike trail.
Do you think people would not go on the rail
It's
trail?
not asking that.
I'm just asking you though. Do you think that they, I mean, like I looked, like Catamount has a huge cell tower on it. They're much more visible there because they're on top of the ridge, right? There's one on top of the ridge. And do people not say, oh, let's not go there, it's got a cell tower, it's ugly? No, I've never heard anybody say that. People don't even know that it's there.
I don't know if riding my bike.
I'm on the chairlift.
Power either.
No, so I'm just saying.
But that's question E. We're on question D.
So in question D,
Like question E is saying, may it cause a significant diminishment in the public enjoyment and appreciation? I agree, that is a separate question. That's not what question D is asking. Question D is saying, what activity are they engaged in while they're viewing the proposed action? Is it recreational tourist-based activities? Yes. It's a separate question.
Okay, well, I was looking at those questions up there.
well, I mean, it's,
I don't see how that makes it a moderate or large impact to it.
And so I think the problem is here, the opposite is that you can't say it's a small impact, even though you may not agree that on the moderate sized part of it from. Because if you go up here to where it says what a small impact is, you know, it doesn't meet the criteria for a small impact.
Can I read the intro paragraph? Because I found it helpful.
Okay,
Please. When a proposed project is part of or visible from a scenic or aesthetic resource, it will be viewed by many different people in different circumstances. This question, specifically D, not E, explores whether the project site is in a location that will be viewed on a daily and constant basis by members of the community, and or if it is within a location that also has an important role in recreation or a tourism economy of the area. Both are important, and changes to scenic and aesthetic resources may have adverse impacts. But even just that first part of like, the first question is the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged, like, will it be visible or will it not be visible? The second question, E, is about the
If it's
diminishment
gonna
of
affect it,
enjoyment.
yeah,
And they're
Right.
certainly linked, but they are distinct questions in the form.
yes.
That, I don't know where that is up there, but I know it's in this PDF.
Yeah, it's up here. This
I
paragraph.
just question, it agreed you're gonna see it, and you're gonna see it when you're doing both activities. But why is it a moderate to large impact?
Because you're gonna see it on the entirety of the rail trail.
No, you're not gonna see it on the entirety of the. I
Through
can't,
that section.
well, where the tower is, but not the whole rail
Well,
trail.
we're not discussing the rest of the rail trail, we're discussing where the tower is.
I guess, Joe, for me, the problem is that it's not, if you look at the definitions of the small impact, it's not a small impact. So it's kind of like,
But also this question is like, it's like a yes, no question. It's not
I know.
I
I mean, they're both yeses, right?
I mean, yeah.
But yes.
with a scale on it.
Is it large?
Yeah,
Right.
And the first question is no or small. Or small, not just no. Is it small or large?
I mean. I
Well,
think-
it's moderate, you can't, yeah, it's moderate, and that's that middle of the line.
Well, moderate goes with large.
Yeah, moderate goes with, yeah,
Yeah.
the form is imperfect in that it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's
Yeah.
not as fine tuned as
Moderate
you might
is-
need to be.
Moderate does not mean it's significant so much. It's
Well, a
The
moderate
model.
impact could be, I think we have to continue to remember that you could have moderate or large impacts, and for a variety of reasons, decide that it's an impact, but it's not significant. And that's the other part of the analysis that goes into it. So in order to look at whether the impact is significant or not, you look at the magnitude of the impact, how wide you can see it, how far you can see it, how many people can see it, how often can they see it, how much of the landscape is taken up by seeing it. Those are the things that then determine whether, yeah, it's an impact, and it's more than small, but it might not be large, but it may not be in the end significant because of its location, its design, and just where it's situated down below the lower than the road surface. There's a variety of things that could mitigate that significance level.
Look
think-
at it this
I think
way.
if that's the case, that we get to
I think
go into
we're-
the detail after it, then it's easier to answer as a moderate to large, because we can go back and debate.
yeah.
Well,
Well-
I think if we all kind of definitively said that, yes, routine travel by residents traveling to and from work would see this on 22, right? And we're all like, yes, you're gonna see it on 22.
Every day.
Okay, again, 22 is the arterial that everyone comes up to the city, to this area. So all those people who like triple our population in the summer, they're all gonna see it from 22 too. So this is just asking the difference between residents and recreational or tourism-based activity. It's not asking if it's gonna make people not come here. It's just asking if it's gonna be viewed daily by residents or also by tourists.
And both
And
of
it is.
them are yes, yeah,
That's a good
So-
point.
yeah.
Yes, those people will see it as much as the locals will see it when they're up here visiting. Even if we take the rail trail out of it, on 22, they're gonna see the same thing.
Right, so the amount of viewing makes it more of a moderate to a large.
That is
because-
how I am reading this, because it says the situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing. It's not asking about if it's changing activities, anything, it's just while viewing this, are they local or are they recreational and tourists?
And they're both.
And they're both. I mean, again, because the examples that we were looking at here by Man, those were saying small local roads, then I don't think it would be as impactful because you don't have a bunch of tours going down, you know, a road that doesn't go anywhere.
You
But
don't
they all
have a
take-
bunch of people riding down a rail trail to a tourist running.
Exactly. So
But it's visible and it's
That's-
visible to
it's-
both groups. So
they're not gonna come here and not see it. Maybe they might not notice it because they're off in the city and they don't care. That's not the question. That's question E. This question is just saying, are they gonna be recreating while they view it?
Well, I think it is part of the question, whether it would make a difference to them. I think that goes to the element of whether, of no to small or moderate to large impact.
I disagree. I think that's what E is saying.
But we
E is
have to say
specifically
moderate.
asking, will this cause a diminishment of public enjoyment and appreciation of the designated aesthetic resource, which I think is a much, much larger conversation.
But if it doesn't make a difference to receptors, let's just use the example that you used. If it doesn't make a difference to receptors because they're used to an environment that is much more filled with discordant features.
Perhaps it might not make as much of a difference driving down 22, but the majority of people that come up here to enjoy the scenic corridor overlay in this beautiful farming place with nothing in the sky except for birds, you know, and they're riding the bike along and they're like, huh. They might.
I'm not pushing you one way or the other. I'm just saying that in my opinion, that's an element of making the decision about no to small or moderate to large.
If
So we're
we
saying
are,
moderate to
if
large.
we are marketing our area as the historic farming area in that very specific little tiny place right by where that is, which is all farms and then a rail trail. And you're tourists coming for that reason because of that, that's how we're marketing our location. I do think it makes an impact. I think everyone's gonna see it. Is that going to keep them from coming? I don't think so.
I feel
But
like
I
this,
think it's gonna
shouldn't
make an
this all be
impact.
part of the discussion that follows after?
Yeah,
Where we
I mean,
talk about.
I think,
At some point it is, because if you're deciding that even if you decide it's visible and you decide it's a moderate to large impact, then at part 3, you're gonna look at magnitude.
Right,
and
magnitude,
importance, and you're gonna be evaluating you're gonna have to make a decision at some point whether you think that impact is significant.
Right, I feel like we're trying to push the magnitude decision down to here, and the magnitude decision is really a separate discussion.
Well, that's up to you. It's up to you. I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to make clear.
No, I just
I
wanna
don't
make
make
sure I understand
decisions
that we're,
for you about certain elements. I can
Yeah.
just sort of talk to you about thinking about it. But it's up, you guys have to make.
But again, this reads like
Make
a
it
yes, no
sense.
question, and the answer is not no, so. It has to be yes.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Well-
I think we have a chance to talk about magnitude
yeah,
after, and
so
that's,
we'll just say the moderate to large.
but I don't see how we can say no.
Well, it's not saying just no, it's about
Yeah.
the size,
About the magnitude.
about size.
But the way the question it's worded,
Well, I don't,
but okay,
yeah, I don't think you should get
yeah,
too
too
lost in
too
that
lost
right
in that,
now,
right.
but everybody's feeling moderate to large.
I feel like we're gonna have to talk about, anyway, sorry.
I just think it's a controversial that you're gonna say it doesn't have a large impact on the enjoyment, but you're gonna say it's got a large magnitude on just seeing it. I just think I don't think that makes sense. If you're gonna say this is only small,
We didn't
But
get to
seeing-
we
that yet,
haven't said that yet,
but we didn't do that.
well, we kind of alluded to it. but-
right?
Well, but I think that, you know, the awkwardness of the form is that it kind of asks you to answer each one of these questions, but when we get to part 3, these are all interrelated, and so we don't have to look at. I mean, we have to address each one of these, but we can do it in a coordinated way because they interact with each other. So I guess I don't think it has to be quite so segmented. I mean, you can work those things out. Like a rationale could be that, yeah, lots of people are going to see it, but you don't think it's going to have an impact on them coming to Ankrum and enjoying that resource. So therefore it's not significant. I'm just pulling that out of a hat. That so you can tie those questions and answers together to create the rationale for your decision.
The board, yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
And the DEC has the definition for aesthetic impact. Can you read that to this board?
Let me see if I can find it.
I think I can read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Aesthetic impact occurs when there is a detrimental effect on the perceived beauty of a place or structure. Mere visibility of a project should not be a threshold for decision making. Instead, a project, by virtue of its visibility, must clearly interfere with or reduce the public's enjoyment or appreciation of the appearance of a significant place or structure.
That's George James.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
thank you.
That is the DEC's guidelines when you're when it's telling you what mere visibility is not the threshold for decision making. That's really the key part. It's got to diminish the quality of the play.
So these should be small based on that.
Like what would be an example of something that would diminish the place? I'm just, now that you've read that definition.
No decision though?
Some of it is.
I mean, because I think we could go around this table and everyone would have a different answer for that.
And it's also one thing may not, but then if they're like death by 1,000 blows, if all of a sudden there are 4 or 5 things in the scenic corridor that are small, they add up to large, and they could be different things, but
Well,
you know,
that-
just
Yeah, that would be a width that we would deal with the other applications,
right.
those things, and then it could be very.
But also,
Yeah,
question,
right.
question have is specifically goes to that.
oh,
George, since you do this a lot, do you have any other insight to offer over the conversation that's taking place?
Right. So there's this concept in visual impact assessments is discordance. Like, how discordant is the element of the view? How much does it change the view? How much does it look out of place? And assessing that, this is your place. You would understand this better than I would. And so what was important to me was to show you was to confirm that the visual simulations that show the project from a number of different places are accurate. And they present a before and after viewpoint. And it's up to you to make the decision on the significance of that change and how discordant is this element to it. Now, I think the point that was brought up earlier is, well, if there's one thing, well, maybe it's not so bad, but if there are 5 or 6 things along the scenic corridor, how does that change it? And that's a very good point, right? Size matters, right? The number of them matter. And because a number of discordant elements in a scenic area will change the character of the place. But where that threshold is in a particular place is really, you around this table are the best people to make that decision.
But I also feel like a single thing can stand out more than a group of things. Because it's more apparent.
Well, I think about the distance from the rail trail and from the farther away views of that, and that the mountain is behind it, and that it's not like silhouetted, like Ann was saying. My concern is on Route 22, and leaf off, and also my concern that I've voiced is that with no maintenance on those trees and they're covered in vines, that we're looking at a long-term impact. And maybe those trees are screening it right now, partially. But as those trees are not maintained and taken care of, those canopies are gonna collapse. And that will cause this to be a very significant view on that portion of 22. Because already the sky is above it, so the mountain beyond it is not screening it like if you're looking at it from the east.
Can somebody remind me how far along 22 you can see it? So like if you're driving south,
It's in a
a 2
well,
mile.
for 2 miles.
Depends where you are.
Well, it's 2
Yeah,
miles.
the road kind of winds a little bit, so you might get in.
I mean, I drove by, you could see it for like 30 seconds or something, 40 seconds, right? We drove that time, remember, Aaron?
Right.
But that's with the trees still there.
Yes.
We can't assume the trees are gonna be gone. It's not fair.
I think we have to plan for that, they're using something that is not in their jurisdiction as a screen. And we talked about that with the solar and the aesthetic thing with the solar. That, we've told them directly that they said, oh, well, the trees are screening it. And they said, like, well, you can't say those trees are screening it. They're not your trees. Somebody else could cut them down. State could come through and cut all those trees down because they're doing maintenance. I don't know. There's nothing to say that those trees are gonna be there.
I just think
To me, if this wasn't visible from the scenic corridor, from the rail trail part, it would be an easier one to answer. But because viewer sensitivity is, I say, it's very elevated, it becomes more weighty to me as to its impact.
I think we have something really, really, really special here. Like whenever I'm anywhere in the Hudson Valley and people are like, oh, where do you live? And I say Ancomdale, like, and this is from other people that live up here and already get to live up here. They look at you like, wow, you're so lucky, Like we have something really special and really incredible and very rare. It's very rare to have any little pieces of land like we still have in this community of ours. And I just think we need to be careful. And
Well, if I think we're pretty much, I don't know, should we go around the table that we're saying moderate to large? Because as Nan says, we're gonna talk about it. I mean, we have to say one or the other.
right.
And so we're saying moderate to large.
Yeah, but I have to go with that because
majority-
it's on a scenic corridor.
Excuse me,
If it was just on a road, I would have a different opinion, but because of where it
in the
is,
corner,
I
yeah,
have
and
to
that's
go
what we're
that
talking about. Bill, do you want to weigh in on that?
I'm just reading the question again and again and again. No, I guess taking a vote is fine.
So we might not have consensus, but we might have a majority.
There was a question about how much was visible from 22. I can answer that.
Trying to finish D, aren't we?
Oh, I thought we already. did
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
yeah.
No,
they're
we're
on-
still on.
So for with the roadway with clear visibility with the current trees, it's about 0.37 miles for southbound motorists and about 0.55 miles for northbound motorists.
So I mean, this
Yeah,
is
like it's about 30 seconds. It's kind of what, everybody's going 60 miles an hour. It's 30, you see it for 30 seconds, basically.
If you're looking up.
That's
But
right.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
important stuff if we get to talk about magnitude.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's where we get to be specific about why we think it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
matters less or matters more or whichever way we
We
decide.
can check this box now. And we will come back to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want to check both of these then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And you've kind of already launched into your discussion on E.
Yeah.
What's your conclusion? Do you have a conclusion on that one yet?
Well, it definitely may. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, May is
it may.
Right, but
Yeah.
so it's not a, it's not a no, but is it a small, moderate, or large? Don't look at it as just one or the other.
Well, I don't think it's large.
I don't think it diminishes anybody's system impact.
The public enjoyment and
I don't think-
appreciation.
I think
I-
Is this one 100% only about the public? Is that how we're all reading this?
That's the
Yes,
question.
That's the question, the public. and the
By the
private.
I'm saying it's
diminishment
only
of the
about-
public enjoyment.
Everybody's public.
Yeah, that's
appreciation.
everybody. That's everybody on the road, everybody on 22, all the
On
residents,
the rent room.
right?
Oh,
And
is that including the residents?
wouldn't
because
it?
remember
It's
when we
Yeah,
public.
that's the public.
Month ago or 2 months ago, where was the difference of like the public and the residents was the same or could be included?
I'm reading it as the residents and everyone else.
It's public.
Okay.
Is that correct, Nan?
Yes, it's all the public, the members of the community, people traveling through, traveling to Ancrum, yes. All of that would be public.
Yes.
Also residents living there in that area.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's an interesting point, because definitely people who are living next door to it have not been happy about it.
It's causing a diminishment, I would assume.
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
a large group of
Yeah,
people that
for
are
a
very
particular
upset
group
about
of
it.
people, it's a
And-
large impact.
I think we have to recognize that here.
We've had a lot of communication and visitor.
So, all right, moderate,
Yeah.
moderate.
On that, for that criteria, yes,
Moderate.
otherwise I was the other way.
Hey, that's what I was asking.
Moderate.
You can't hear me with my loud voice?
And then I think we're moderate on E.
Yep, I got it.
Yep.
So F is looking at whether there are similar projects that are visible within these kind of distance ranges. And I think that we looked that up. There was another tower within 3 miles, I think.
I found the tower in Millerton today by luck coming around the checkerboard wall there. There's a water tower
Yeah,
that has cell
Yeah,
on it, which is kind of behind Agway. And I measured it, it's like within 2 miles of the site.
but I don't
this
think,
site? Is
Yeah.
it really that
I
close?
don't think that's visible from the site, though.
No, but it just says.
It says similar
sim-
project visible within the distance.
Yeah, so you can see it, it's behind Agway. It's probably closer to 1/2 to 3 mile. But after 2 miles, the signal drops out.
I would say I'm a no on this one, that's.
So I would.
Yeah, I don't think we can see similar projects.
Oh, now we get the G.
Yeah, are there other things that relate to aesthetic resources that we haven't discussed?
Like what? Can you give us an example?
Wait, can we just go back there for a second? What did we just checked large?
Oh,
obviously?
sorry, you're right, sorry, that was my mistake. I
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
in the wrong,
Okay.
I put it in the wrong column. Thank
Okay.
you. So, other impacts, other things that are important from, like, what you said earlier about what Joe said, the purpose of the scenic overlay is to recognize the scenes of the mountains from there. Another impact was, does it diminish the views of the mountains? That's not necessarily specified in these other questions, but
How
It
how
could-
did if we go back to the comprehensive plan and its description of that area, I'm wondering if we compared that to the idea of seeing a cell tower in that area. so you're going to character, I guess that's what I'm looking at.
Well,
So an impact on the character of the overlay zone.
The rural character.
Yeah, well, and that will be captured in the last question, which is specifically oriented to community character.
Okay, okay.
So again, I mean, the evaluation of these moderate to large impacts then would get further detailed. We'll go over the specifics to determine whether, even though there's a potential for a moderate to large impact, you may make a decision that in the end, because of the unique circumstances of this project and how it's designed, you may decide that it's not significant after all, or that maybe not all of these are significant. We'll have to cross that path when we get there. But let's move on, because I think questions 17 and 18 have similar components. They're interrelated.
So for G, should we just say no?
Well, we don't have to put anything in there.
Oh, we don't have to put anything?
Yeah, no, if you don't have anything, we'll just leave it blank.
Okay.
So 17 is consistency with community plans. So this is the proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. So first, this is the first question to answer, is that is it consistent with adopted land use plans? That would be the adopted plans that you have is the comprehensive plan, your natural resource inventory and plan, and it does explore in item C your zoning regulations. So before we answer any of these questions, how do you feel about its consistency with the adopted plans and policies that you have in town?
The problem I have is this contradiction between the plan and the zoning code.
Absolutely.
There is.
Where if I read the plan, it's not consistent, but then the code says you can have a tower. So
Right,
I don't know how to reconcile those.
Which also makes the top of this inconsistent with the bottom of it. Because if we say it is not consistent, we say no, then it wants us to skip the rest of this, but that's not really true either.
So I just want to say that from the point of the law, that there has to be, under New York state law, there has to be a general consistency between a comprehensive plan, which is plan and sort of the vision for how the municipality is going to grow, and the zoning law, which is what is the way to try to implement that plan. But the only thing that gets required by the courts is a general consistency.
General inconsistency.
Well, in other words, it's been brought up that provision X of the zoning law is not consistent with the comprehensive plan because it says X, and the court cases say that it's not required that there be a slavish adherence to the comprehensive plan in the zoning law. And so in this particular case, the town board, who makes the land use policy decisions for your town, decided that this use would be allowed in the scenic corridor overlay zone. They provided some explanation about their rationale for that in the purpose section of the telecommunications facility portion of the zoning law. And Nan, you were around when this decision was being made, when the zoning revision committee was talking about this, and you may have some valuable things to add, but you have to assume that it was a conscious and well-considered decision on the part of the town board to allow this, particularly in this. I think I remember Nan telling me at one time that there was quite a bit of discussion about this because of the importance of the zone, but
It's my understanding that part of the comprehensive plan and the idea of the town is that they wanted to have internet access and cell phone access. So people, all your tourists can come up here and work from home, the weekenders. So they have an ability, because it's hard to grow our economy with businesses, like hard, brick and mortar businesses. But that's the reason why they allowed a cell phone a cell tower in the scenic corridor. And it does say in the updated comprehensive plan that they want to support broadband and telco facilities here. Just saying that.
So if it says that in our plan, we have to say no. I think.
Say that again, please. Oh, sir.
If the plan says and the town board voted that this is consistent with our community plan, right? This is the question. Is it consistent with the community plan? So John just told us that they did want this kind of a use. So I think this has to be a no.
The double negative.
Yeah, it's a double negative.
Yeah.
Wait. The proposed action.
So, but I believe it is consistent.
Yeah, so it's right.
Yeah,
If it's
I'm only
consistent,
gonna
it's a no.
But I do believe it is consistent.
Right. So if it's consistent, it's a no.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a hard one. They worded it poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worded the
Hey,
whole
you should
thing
say-
poorly.
Is it consistent? Not, is it not consistent?
Right, exactly.
It's like directions
Right.
are made in China.
Is there consensus on the board that no, for this one you're comfortable with that?
I respect what they put in the comprehensive plan and the zoning code as guidance, because
Yeah.
I don't really have,
Otherwise, we have nothing. Right. We're just making stuff up.
yeah. So I have to go with no, with no on this.
Me too.
Okay, great.
No, it is.
So A.
Right.
17 is no.
Okay, I
Oh,
got it.
it's no. That's a change.
What?
However, is another story.
Yeah, so then our last question is related to community character. And whenever we go over this question, and I think that we've done past trainings on community character with the planning board before, that while aesthetics is part of the community's character for sure, that the broader sense of what community character is the totality of the built and the unbuilt environment. So we have to think broader than be a lot of people when they think of community character, they immediately think of just the visual character. But it's more than that. It's the patterns of development, the type of development, the type of landscapes that you have, all of the built and unbuilt, and the mixing of those elements creates a character that's unique to Ankrum. So when we look at community character, that's kind of the mantle we want to look at and not treat it just as visual. And that's why they talk about in here with historic type things and community services and housing and architecture, because those are all elements of community character.
so Nan, if I may make a suggestion, that I think that looking at the FEAF workbook on this might be helpful.
Okay, let me get it up.
Maybe going through the beginning portion, the beginning explanation. Before the examples are reached. You
Hold
said
on a second.
you've already covered a little bit of this in your remarks, but I think to be careful and to make sure that we're adhering to the guidance on this, it would be good to go over this there.
Okay. So yeah, so this builds on what I introduced. This is that community character is defined by all the man-made and natural features of the area. It includes the visual character of the area and its visual landscape, but also the buildings and structures, natural environment, activities, town services, local policies that are in place that they're all kind of combined together to define the character of the area. Changes to the type and intensity of land use, housing, public services, aesthetic quality, and the balance between residential and commercial uses can all change community character. Um, and then it talks about that most proposed actions will result in some change in community character. I mean, unless you're leaving something totally, pristine, even, building a garage, could change community character in that particular location. Um, there are probably a few that will result in no changes at all. Um, Question 18 asks if the proposed project is not consistent with community character. Reviewing agencies need to understand that what existing community character is. And I think that it does talk about it's clear, sometimes it's clearly defined in a comprehensive plan. And I think between the 2014 and the 2019 versions of the comprehensive plan, you look at um, the um, the descriptions remember each of those documents looks at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and the strengths talk about all of the kind of the elements that have been identified by the public as things that are part of the community that you highly value. That can be a clue to help you define what Ancrum's community character is, to frame this discussion. So I think the comprehensive plan and its vision statement and the strengths elements and the terms that are described in the plan are relevant to answering this question. It says reviewing agencies should ask and answer the sub-questions to understand what changes the proposed project might bring to the community. A comparison of current conditions to those that might exist after implementation of the project will determine if the action is inconsistent with the existing community character or not. So that's kind of an expansion on that. And some of the things that this talks about on how to identify potential impacts are things like that if the proposed project doesn't exceed this section has like some numeric thresholds. You can consider the scale and the context of the project. So it's a very location specific questions. And so this other paragraph I think is helpful too, is community character is in part influenced by the buildings and structures that exist in the community. That includes historic structures can be influential. Whenever existing buildings and structures are replaced or removed, the character of that neighborhood or location changes. And Removal or replacement can significantly change the function, look, and the economics of an area, which all goes back to realizing that community character is multifaceted and it includes lots of different elements that are valuable to Ancrum. So the analysis here is, are there any buildings or structures to be replaced or eliminated? What is the scale and the siting and design of them? Are there any historic impacts that will occur? Are there any changes to streetscapes? And a lot of those types of things are not really part of this particular activity. So so I think we need to that with that kind of background, start with these questions. The first one is, will the proposed action replace or eliminate any existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance to the community? Oh, wait, sorry. We have to go back to this first question here.
Doesn't it, can I stop for a second? Doesn't it make more sense to look at the little questions before we answer the big question? Aren't the little questions going to inform us about the big question?
Yeah, we've done that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I agree. That helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, I guess if you, yeah, I could see it going both ways, but
It does go both ways sometimes. 17 was an example of where you're able to go to the big question straight away. But in other instances, it's correct that you have to drop down into the sub questions to get guidance about answering the main question.
I think we should do that in the case.
okay. All right, so the first one is whether it will replace or eliminate existing facilities, structures, or areas of historic importance.
No.
I would say no.
No.
Okay. The proposed action may create a demand for additional community services.
No.
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 The proposed action may displace affordable or low-income housing where there's a shortage of such housing.
No.
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 Here we have kind of a overlap. The proposed action may interfere with the use or enjoyment of officially recognized or designated public resources.
May interfere,
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
the use or enjoyment.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to interfere.
It's not going to interfere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stop people from.
Interfere with the enjoyment.
Make it better.
Use or enjoyment.
Use or enjoyment.
Okay, the proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character.
Yes.
Yes. to that.
Like 3 times larger than anything else in the valley.
Yeah.
Okay, so but this is not a yes or a no kind of question. We go
Moderate
back
to large.
Only meaning moderate to large, only because
Yeah.
it's not no.
Yes.
Okay,
There's nothing else in the valley like it. It's completely different from
Yeah.
anything else.
But here's the problem I see with that. It's a permitted use in the district, specifically in the scenic over, just
It doesn't-
because.
It's just saying predominant architectural scale and character.
Can I finish?
Okay.
If nobody's built what's been permitted, how could it be, how could it conform to the character? It's a permitted use in the district.
Because we're comparing apples to oranges.
Well,
Because we only have apples and now we have an orange.
Yes.
We have like
But-
cucumber.
if somebody else had built a cell tower, then we'd be consistent because there'd be something to be consistent with. But
Right. I
it's
see
a
what you're saying.
permitted use. Oh,
In the workbook, moderate to large impact, there may be a moderate to large impact if the proposed project introduces an architectural style that is in sharp contrast in its size, window or door style, building materials, roof pitch, facade, color, or signage with existing or surrounding. In comparison, small impact, there may be a small impact if the visual character of the area is changed in a minor way, but is generally consistent in the design, placement, color, size, intensity, and architecture. of the
It's
neighborhood or
consistent
community.
in the design of what it is. Right, right.
there's nothing else like
There's
it.
nothing else like
You
it.
can't compare it to anything.
But for what it is, it's consistent with the design of what it is.
Yeah, but it's inconsistent with the
Yeah.
predominant, the
Yes.
current
The
predominant.
scale.
I
We're
know.
talking about
Yeah.
scale
Yeah.
too.
But why
Yes,
wouldn't we
and
come,
character.
why wouldn't we come back to this and answer, let's remark it as martial moderate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moderate, and then we
Yeah.
come back
Gotta
and
come back
we
to it.
discuss the fact that it's a permitted use. I feel like they're two separate things. You have to look at them.
Agree.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think no one's saying it's not permitted. I just think we're saying that it doesn't look like anything
It
else.
does
No,
not.
I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that we can address the,
But being that it's a cell tower, it's not expected to look like a house. So
yeah.
I'm just, as Joe said, it is permitted.
Right, and why would it not be small instead of
You can't make
large?
it look like what it isn't.
But if the
Well,
tower
it is,
looks
it's just one.
differently, it might
Yeah.
have a different impact on.
It's just
On the
one.
character.
It's not like it's a.
So it can still be there, the
Development.
cell tower, if it looked differently.
So
That's not gonna
just
look like that.
remember, it's architectural scale and character. You don't always have to be comparing it against something that would be like another telecommunications tower. There might be instances where there's a wind turbine somewhere, and which is also can be mounted on a tower. That might be a feature of the community, or commercial structures that are out in the community, which you guys do sometimes have some scattered around. I don't know about this area, but so it just doesn't have to be, you don't have to be just looking for other towers. It's I think that the question's a little broader.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like in your area, it would be like silos, for instance, would be much larger than your standard residential or commercial buildings. But
We have a giant paper mill.
But not
I have a
very-
wind turbine.
Yeah.
There are several. Sure. But they're not.
So if the cell tower looked different, and I'm just this theoretical throwing this out, if it looked like a silo, if it looked like something that was in the valley, would that, we could then say that had a less impact on the community character?
Yes.
One way to
Yes.
think about it. In other words, it's permitted, but if it looked different, then that would change how you assessed its impact on the character.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying that because I think that'll allow us to get back to that question when we talk more about the significance of its impact or mitigations.
E is moderate.
So is there consensus yet on this one or
Moderate.
I think we're saying it's moderate.
moderate? Okay.
Moderate, yeah.
Okay. And then the last one in this grouping is the proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape.
100%, yes.
But anything would be, right?
So we're gonna say moderate.
Yeah.
So then, given that you chose a couple of these things as yes and moderate, then I would assume you would want yes up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to.
Any other impacts to community character that you want to add to G?
I don't know. So nobody's coming up with anything.
I don't see any.
All right. Well, are you do you want to move into part 3?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me switch up some things here. So in part 3, when you have moderate to large impacts identified, those are the ones that you concentrate the analysis of significance in part 3. So I often use this little chart here to help you kind of chart out getting to significance. And the categories that Seeker asks you to look at to make a decision about whether something is significant or not is really looking at whether it's like the magnitude of impact, which is based on size. So it's looking at area, population, and the scale of that. The duration is it going to be a permanent impact? Is it a long-term impact? Is it short that it's only going to take place during construction? Or is when the use is done and gone, is it irreversible or reversible? The third category is how likely is it actually that this will impact? So we could kind of use the example of, will this impact the enjoyment of people on the rail trail? Well, how likely is it that people will actually not want to come to the rail trail because of the potential aesthetic impacts of this? And then this last one is a little more difficult. It's like, how important is it to you? In the context of your community, how important is it? Some of these moderate to large impacts may be more important than others. And so when you look kind of across the line of the chart and you can see how you answered across all of these elements, helps you determine whether that particular impact is significant or not. So that's how I think we've used this on other projects in town, but this is, a methodology to help you get at the significance. So do you want to just go back to the questions, or does this chart look like it might be something helpful for you?
The chart was helpful. Yeah.
Dan, do you remember which email it was in?
Oh, this was
It should be in the Dropbox.
yeah, this one I did not email it to you. This we used, I think we had this filled out in part for the Ankrum Solar project. But I just made a new chart this morning for you, so you don't have this yet.
Could you send it to me back so I can print it for these guys?
Yep.
Thanks.
Oh wait, who am I sending it to?
Sarah.
Oh, okay. What's your email?
X Map Arthur.
Oh yeah, there it is. I got it. Okay.
Sorry, what? Yeah.
Yes.
I just say.
So while Nan is doing that, I'm going to read another piece of guidance from DEC, if I may.
Sure.
Nan? Okay. So DEC advises agencies like yours that significant aesthetic impacts are those that may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of an inventory resource, or one that impairs the character or quality of the place. The fact that a project is large by itself should not be a trigger for a positive declaration under seeker. So, the idea that this is about what it does to those resources, the rail trail and the scenic corridor.
George, are you reading that from the handbook or the workbook?
This is from the assessing and mitigating visual impact, the DEC policy guidelines.
Policies. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess it's from neither.
Yep. Got it. Maybe you should read that again.
Significant aesthetic impacts are those that may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of an inventoried resource, or one that impairs the character or quality of such a place. The fact that a project is large by itself should not be a trigger for a positive declaration.
Actually, we may have to ask you to read that again when Jessica comes back.
That's okay, because it gives you a chance to think about it. George, do you want to just take a moment and maybe explain to everybody? I know what you're reading from, but maybe explain to the planning board members, just briefly what this guidance document is and
Oh, sure.
how it came about. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So about, I don't know, 25 years ago, maybe a little more, the DEC put together this policy document that essentially tries to help people understand what visual impacts are, how they're created, how they can be mitigated. It goes through a whole big list of mitigation programs, and how they can be evaluated. And it's evolved a little bit. It was updated a few years ago. Um, and the idea here, I think, is when I see this, you know, you could have a very large building, right? You know, what I like to do in your area is think about agricultural buildings, right? Agricultural buildings can be very large. They could do a lot of disturbance, but they're completely in character with the area, right? They're not discordant. And and so you could have a huge agricultural building go up next to a scenic road, and no one really thinks twice about it because that's in character with the area, right? That's something that's to be expected. You could have something that is, you know, much smaller than that, but is very much out of place for the area, and that could have a significant impact. So I guess what this kind of guidance is trying to say is that it's not only about visibility, right? It's about what it does to the place, what it does to the inventoried resource. Here again, the rail trail and the scenic corridor. And you know your evidence when you're thinking about this shouldn't just be what's in your own head. My recommendation would be, you know, you have photo simulations which will show what it looks like now, what it would look like with this action. And that will help you in terms of your decision making on whether this is a significant impact or not.
George, do you have the photo sims handy tonight so that if the board wants you to screen share any of them, that we can?
Yeah, you have to give me yeah, I do, but you have to give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's all right, because a couple of the board members are taking a break, so it's a good time to maybe hunt around for them and have them.
We also have the applicant here too, so I mean they could also do that as
Yeah,
well.
and I have them if you can't find them. I might have to turn off my screen sharing for you to screen share, so that's fine.
We have our Google expert online that can all compare this out. Yep.
And the other thing I'll say about this is that, you know, the guidance document that George was talking about was born of the fact that DEC understood that these can be difficult issues to wrestle with, and that there are some subjective elements to making the judgments that are involved, and that I mean, one of the reasons that when Seeker was born and the lead agency structure was put in place, and the responsibility for conducting these reviews was delegated by DEC to localities, was all based on the idea that nobody knows your community better than you do. And it was thought that at the time, as a matter of policy, that it wouldn't make sense to have outsiders coming in and making judgments about these questions. So that's true, and that's a great thing. But it also sometimes, being local and knowing everything that you know as a local can make the questions a more difficult wrestle. But anyway, this guidance document tries to explain how to sort of take you through that. So George, maybe as we're going through this process, and as Nan's taking the board through the grid there, you know, please interject with anything that you think might be helpful from the visual assessment guidance.
Sure.
So I guess the question is, and I would ask George again, in terms of the statement that you read,
Yeah, so Nan, I'm gonna take up Tom's suggestion. Everybody's back now. Oh, no, Palmer's not back. When she comes back, let's read that statement one more time as a segue into the,
okay.
We can
okay.
do it again.
I'm fine.
I think we're ready to take it up again.
Did we lose Nan?
George and Nan, you've gone out for a burger. George and Nan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm putting some notes down. George, are you still looking for a file?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Hold on.
Just so you guys know that there's the screen shares up here, so we can't see you. So
Oh, okay.
our voice is our only contact.
Ah, okay. Oh, I didn't know you couldn't see us. All right. I'm just summarizing the ones that you marked as moderate to large. So give me 1 minute.
Do you want to have, can you reread that statement? George said?
Yes, we can do that. Let's just give Nan a minute. Okay, go to the statement and then we'll dive into the moderate to large.
So Jessica, while you were out, George read a statement about how to do interpretation of one aspect of it, so we can have him read it again, so. He's good.
Which I can read again if you'd like me to.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is a guidance from New York State DEC, which states significant aesthetic impacts are those that may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of an inventoried resource, or one that impairs the character or quality of such a place. The fact that a project is large by itself should not be a trigger for a positive declaration.
And then that's when you were talking about the big barn versus small thing.
Right, right. It's in
the context.
Right, it's in the context. Exactly right.
Not necessarily volume of spaces.
That's right.
So the other thing that I think might be helpful is that we take, the last almost 2 hours of getting to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that were identified as moderate to large. Paraphrasing, now this is not fine-tuned, but paraphrasing from that, what you have said was moderate to large could be summarized as that it is different from the existing built landscape. It's different from the existing natural landscape. It's a visible, it will be visible from a scenic resource both seasonally and year-round, viewed by both residents and tourists, and it may cause diminishment of a designated resource. Those were the items that you said were moderate to large. So when you put it into kind of, to me, like if you put it into that kind of one paragraph kind of summary of what you said were the potential moderate to large impacts, that hopefully will frame what you need to discuss. Does that make sense?
That was good. Yes, thank you.
So I guess so in the context of what I just read, if you look down, let's talk about scale or magnitude right now. would you consider the magnitude of those impacts, again, to that it's different from existing and natural landscapes, is visible seasonally and year-round, viewed by residents and tourists, and may cause diminishment of a designated resource? What would you consider would be the magnitude of that impact? Is it a large area, a small area, a townwide impact? Is it, just the small area along Route 22? Is it broader? So what would you say would be the magnitude of those impacts? Sometimes we also include in the magnitude is it impacting a few people or is it impacting large numbers of people? That's also contributes to magnitude.
So we're looking at this, we're not going through each of those questions that we marked moderate to large. We're looking at this as an overall.
Well, I'm just trying to yes, we can go one by one, but I think that based on what you had talked before, kind of looking at them as a whole, they all interact with each other.
Right, I think
They're all
what
kind of
Nan's
the same
kind of
issue.
helping with is that if we go one by one, we're
Yeah.
just gonna have the same conversation over and over again versus.
I think the big issue here is the magnitude is the range of the visibility. It's not the single thing you turn around a corner and you see it. And it's seen from many, many different directions and for many different uses.
I also think the amount of
Well, yeah,
You
and
know what
that
I
goes
mean?
to the
It's
two.
not
It's
just
the
like
volume of
that
people
live
that.
there, the volume of people, like when Nan was saying something about like a small area or a whole community, you can't say it's gonna affect the whole community, but it's a lot of people.
Right, right. It's not tucked down in a little valley or something that's, you have to stop on the road and look on a hillside to see it. You're gonna see this whether you want to see it or not because of the activities that you're doing. So that's what I think about when I think about,
Like you almost can't
Magnitude.
avoid it,
right?
can't avoid it in a way, like it's hard.
No,
I
you can't,
think like if I wanted to not look at it, I guess I could take East Ancrum Road. Like how would you get to the?
Well, then you have to look at that ugly house on the thing.
That last.
But Nan,
You cannot see it.
yeah.
That's my point, yeah.
I think the question is, what is the effect of seeing it?
So I'm gonna read you a little bit from the workbook on the magnitude element, okay? This is what DEC says, moderate impact. These are impacts that are of a size that will likely result in more impacts on one or more environmental resources, but are more localized and not regional in nature. Moderate impacts can occur when the project affects a portion of a parcel or even a larger area extending to a small area just beyond the parcel. Moderate environmental impacts may be either isolated, meaning only in one location, or of neighborhood concern. An impact of moderate magnitude would likely affect a moderate number of people. Size in acreage or people affected is not the only aspect of magnitude, however. If a project affects a small land area, but the resource being impacted is locally rare, for example, then the actual impact may be large. When reviewing an impact's magnitude, the reviewing agency should consider the size of the impact and resource, as well as the scope and context of the project. A proposed project that impacts a small number of people may also be considered a moderate impact. The resources affected by a moderated impact may often have broad local concern and often are activities or resources that are regulated or protected by some local, state, or national agency. Then it says the following about large impact. These are impacts that may cover larger areas beyond the parcel in the neighborhood or community or impact larger numbers of people. As described above, related to a moderately sized impact, Size in acres is not the only aspect of this either. Impacts on large areas of land or on large numbers of people, however, would usually be classified as a large impact. The resources affected by a large impact often have broad local or regional concern and often are activities or resources that are regulated or protected by some local, state, or national agency. That's what they're saying about low, moderate, and large impact in the context of magnitude. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. But I have one question, 'cause that definitely helps in the scope of magnitude. But what is impact?
So for impact, you should be thinking about how this diminishes the quality of the place. I mean, I can talk about a few things that I would think about when I view these photo simulations, and you can take it or leave it. But like for example, one of the things that mitigates visual impacts is distance, and so when you look at the rail trail versus Route 22, Route 22, it's much closer to Route 22 than the rail trail. The rail trail it's going to have a fair amount of distance from all viewpoints from the rail trail that have a clear viewpoint to it. And also the context matters because from the rail trail, the background is the hillside. So you never see the towers silhouetted by sky. There's always a brown backdrop on it from all viewpoints to the east. But from the Route 22, when you're close to it especially, you will see a backdrop of sky behind it, which will make it more apparent. One of the things we can do live, if you'd like, is we can go through the photo simulations the applicant has prepared, and we can look at them. They should be, I think, important for your decision making because they will show you what it looks like and now versus what it will look like in the future if this goes forward. I have them if you would like me to share my screen, or I'm sure Nan has them as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
My one concern about that is that this is where that question of the 100 versus 120 foot comes up. Is that we're going to
Absolutely.
be something that may not be the full build up.
We were told not to.
Let's look at this.
Okay,
first
yeah.
and
I
see.
just wanted to.
Okay. One moment. Let me see if I can get full screen on this. Okay, so this is a distant view from Route 22, right? So you see, let me see, there's the existing conditions, all right? And then with the tower as proposed, you see it here in the center. Then you see it with the 3 additional carriers. You see it as the lattice pole. And you see it as the lattice pole with additional carriers. Now, that's a longer distance view. This is the closer view. And in my view, would be the reasonable worst case view because this is as close as really you're reasonably going to see it. There it is as proposed with the multiple carriers as the lattice pole with multiple carriers. And again, the reason that this is close, you can't avoid not seeing it. And it's silhouetted by sky in the background. Both of those things you don't get from the rail trail. Now, in this viewpoint, you have other stuff here, right? You have the utility pole, you have the silo, which is also in this view. And from different viewpoints, they may be less prominent.
Those elements, George, is that something that you would say goes to the issue of whether it's discordant to the rest of the view?
Yeah, I mean, classically, yes, it matters what else is in the view, right? This is a view that has other visual elements on it. When you have, utility poles are ubiquitous, right? When we see views, we actually kind of don't even pay attention to utility poles. We see right through them. But when you see a static view like this, you can see that there is a utility pole that's right next to the it's closer, so it's nowhere near as large in reality, but since it's closer, it appears, the same size. And that is a consideration when you're evaluating what the impacts on a view will be. What else is in it, for sure.
So if I were, based on what I've heard so far, give you my thought process right now in terms of the magnitude, in terms of the number of people passing through it and see it, I would say that's fairly high. In
Yes.
terms of the quality impact of it, though, I feel like that's pretty low.
Because
And
it's a
that's sort of
short.
where I'm thinking at the moment. I wonder how others felt about that.
Tom, say that again.
So I was looking at two aspects. One, just in terms of the number of people that see it, or the places you can see it from. If you think about the 22 in that section, it is probably the busiest part of the town of Ankrum in terms of travel and people going back and forth and openness that get to see things. But in terms of what the impact is on the quality of the experience, I guess you would say, of driving up and down or being through there, I feel like that's pretty low. And so while everyone sees it, because it's high and it's up tall, I'm not sure that it really has a significant impact on our quality in terms of usage and experience of the space. So that's what I was thinking right now. And I want to get see what others thought about that.
I agree. I mean, I think the magnitude of the impact is tiny. In 6 months, you won't even know it's there if it's up, but yeah, a lot of people are gonna see it, granted.
I see. I think this is where that 20 foot comes in, because when you look at that picture of it with the ridge line in the background, 20 feet higher, it really sticks out. But again, in terms of the quality, what is that quality element? Is it somebody riding their bike down the rail trail and feeling like they're missing out on a truly rural experience? Is it, on the other hand, people like connectivity? And that's why you sort of, it's definitely something that people like. They like to be connected. So I for my end, for everything we've seen, yeah, the visual part of it is there. There's no questioning it. But it's the quality part. It's not interfering with activities. It's not damaging anything. It's not polluting anything. It's
not obstructing the view of the scenic.
well, it's not obstructing yeah. I mean, it's not obstructing a major part of the view. It's not like a wall or something like that. But is that sort of how we should be assessing this based on it? I feel like those are two things I picked up from this.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure.
Yeah, I think you're hitting it on the head. It's like, does it diminish the quality of the place? Does it diminish the public's enjoyment of it? Now, I haven't shown you the views from the rail trail. If you would like me to go there, it's just much harder to see it because of the distances that are involved. And so this is right. So that's the existing conditions from this point of the rail trail. And then there it is highlighted in yellow so you can see it. And, there is a photo simulation of the proposal. And again, one of the reasons you can't really, it's much harder to see is because the background is not sky, right? If the background were sky, you would be able to see it much easier. And there are ones that are closer. They did a lot of them from the rail trail and other places.
We should paint one side brown and one side blue.
I'm sorry?
We should paint one side brown and one side blue.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we could go through these if you'd like, but they're just much harder to see because of the distances that are involved here, right? And so if you were to look at the different resources that are involved, it is certainly a bigger impact on 22, simply the distances, because it's so much closer.
It does diminish the quality, but by how much?
We also have to remember it's the residents too, and the
Right.
homes that will always, some of them always look at it.
Right.
Yep.
Those
Well, I feel-
that's the
I feel
biggest
like that's
impact, I
a-
think. They are gonna look at it all.
This is where it's hard for me, if we're talking about in the general, or, because we have all these specific questions, and so this, so in the general sense, I'm thinking about it one way. Thinking about the residents, I would answer it a different way, the specific residents that are nearby it.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm still a little confused as to how to.
We never heard what closest residence was.
Well, okay, so for seeker purposes, it's we look at impacts on visual resources. It's seeker doesn't consider impacts from private property. And that's what they're studying on these viewpoints are all your scenic visual resources. Now, you may consider impacts on private property from other parts of your zoning or other parts of your approval processes, but for seeker purposes, it's supposed to be from publicly accessible resources.
I thought we just said before that the public is included with residences, residents.
Residents that are traveling Route 22, not necessarily from their living room window.
That's right.
The cell tower zoning law specifically mentions residents and visual.
Well, the solar law certainly does. It talks about specifically adjacent properties. I don't know if the telecommunications law does.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we can review this as not consider the residents.
We'll do that first.
Do we ever hear what?
Well, Nan, you may want to, or John, you may want to clarify on this, but if we're just talking about seeker, right? For
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a bifurcated process. So you do the seeker review first. You have to follow the guidelines and the regulations that apply to seeker. And then when you come to the end of that process, the next step that we're going to take is to look into the site plan review and special use permit requirements.
Okay.
So I guess I'm still a little confused. Are we going through each section?
I don't think so.
No, we're.
Because they're all
totality
related.
of it. They're mainly.
Instead of having the
But
same
we just
conversation
don't-
Trying to,
Sorry.
times.
right, we're
having-
trying to make a determination about the aesthetics of this, the aesthetic impact.
Oh, so
Visual
we're just
impact.
doing number 9, at least.
No,
No, we're doing.
we're doing the whole thing, A, B, or C.
Yeah.
This project will result in no significant adverse impacts. Or B, although this project could have significant adverse impacts. Or C, the project may result in one or more significant adverse impacts, but then we can say how important those are. The level of impact. What is impact?
Where are we?
Well, the impact goes back to the statement that George read.
Right.
All right.
Maybe to eliminate some of these categories, looking at duration, likelihood of an impact actually occurring, importance to the community. I mean, so duration, is this, would you call this long-term because the tower is going to be up a long time? It's not short-term just during its construction period, right?
Right.
So it's a long duration. And then the likelihood of whether is it likely to occur, unlikely occur, possibly or probably. And so those, let me go to the possibly occur. and probably occur is an example of, now that's not really I'm not sure that's a really great example for this. And if it's unlikely to occur, those are things like, um, like a gas station goes in and you're worried about how likely is it that the underground gas storage would leak. That's more of a easier one to get a handle on because, it's the double line and you can make a judgment call about whether, gee, is it really likely or is it unlikely that something like that would happen. In terms of the visual impacts that you've identified, the likelihood, I mean, I think, you may disagree with me. The likelihood that it's either visible or it's not visible, so it's like likely that people will see it. There's nothing that's going to be interfering with viewability of this. So I think that if we could say that it's the potential impacts that we're looking at are long-term, likely to occur. So then it kind of comes down to how important is this to you? What's the magnitude of it? And I think what you talked about before was recognizing that a lot of people are likely to see it for many years, but that the diminishment of the resource from Route 22, or from the rail trail, if you want to consider that as well, is lower, because it's not going to diminish people's biking. I mean, I guess you have to decide whether you feel it will be diminish the enjoyment of the resource both from 22 and from the rail trail.
I mean, I think the question is people not gonna come to Ankrum because we put up a cell tower?
Or
I
I
don't
think
think
there will be
so.
some diminishment, but I don't see
I
it
don't
as
think
a
it's,
large
I don't
impact.
think
There
Yeah.
will be some.
I don't think it's
impact.
measurable.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
It's not
Gonna
nothing.
be something, but
Anytime you build something, there's an effect.
Yeah, yeah.
You put something where it wasn't.
Yeah.
But what's the negative effect?
Yeah, so it's okay to say it will diminish the resource, but how much will it diminish the resource? Is it going to ruin it? Is it, if you look at it in terms of, again, the amount of time that someone's going to be looking at it, that was what was, I wrote that down somewhere,
30
30
seconds.
seconds.
0.37 miles and 0.55 miles, depending on the way you're traveling on the road.
Right.
So is that a significant diminishment of the resource?
So we're talking about really boiling down, Nan, to like significance is really correlating to importance
Yes.
here. Okay.
And I can read you more guidance, different sentence. Mere visibility of the project should not be a threshold for decision making. Instead, a project, by virtue of its visibility, must clearly interfere with or reduce the public's enjoyment or appreciation of the appearance of the significant place or structure.
I'm sure for someone it probably will, but I don't think it's reaches a level of significance.
Clearly interfere is, I think, an important expression that they use.
Can you read the whole sentence again, please, George?
Sure. Instead, a project, by virtue of its visibility, must clearly interfere with or reduce the public's enjoyment or appreciation of the appearance of the significant place.
Thank you.
So, I know you're all probably gonna laugh at me and roll your eyes and think this is ridiculous, and that's fine. I agree that I don't think it's gonna keep people from maintaining them. What I was trying to say earlier is that I think we have something very, very special. Like if we think of like what we have as like an endangered animal or something, right? There are not very many places you can go anymore, and you can stand at the edge of this valley, and there is no development beyond houses and barns that you can see there at all. You know, and I'm not saying this is a reason not to do this. I'm just saying that is a very significant change of something that we have. And once you do it, then it's gone. And that is a huge impact. Or someone like me who came here to farm in a farming area for that very specific reason. And so, again, I don't think it's going to keep people from coming here. But I think if that's the only thing that we're looking at in terms of changing this environmental area of what it is a huge impact. For me, it is a very large impact as one very little minuscule person. But just to say like, oh, you're only going to see it for 30 seconds when you drive by, I don't think that's looking at all of it. It changes the entire area.
But does that make it deniable?
What was your question?
What? No, but I'm saying using that mindset is that make it deniable.
We're not saying it is. I'm just saying like it's a big impact to some people. I'm not the only person that feels that way. I can imagine.
Yeah, there are other people that definitely feel it's an impact.
So-
Yeah.
Let me just take you to the side for a second to put some context around what it is you're doing, right? So the determination of significance, if you issue a negative declaration, you're determining that there are no significant adverse environmental impacts that are presented by the project. That any moderate to large impacts that were identified during the process have been mitigated below the level of significance by whatever design techniques have been incorporated into the plan. If you decide that there are significant adverse environmental impacts that have not been reduced below the level of significance by design elements of the plan, then you issue a positive declaration, not a denial. And what a positive declaration is it's a statement that it kicks off another step in the process, which is it requires the preparation of an environmental impact statement. The purpose of seeker generally is not to, although it's possible to deny projects on seeker grounds, that happens very rarely. The real purpose of seeker is to assure that potential adverse environmental impacts are identified, sufficiently studied, and that mitigation measures, mitigation to the maximum extent practicable, which is the standard in seeker, get put into place. So denial isn't really what's on the table at this
Right.
contents.
No,
It's
I
a
understand
negative,
that.
it's deciding whether there's no, neg deck or pos deck. And a pos deck leads to more study and more dialogue with regard to mitigation.
We got to be moving in the direction of an approval or a denial. We won't.
At some point,
Yeah.
but you have to come through the seeker process first.
Well, and I think it's important to remember or to at least identify the mitigation that has been done or that is included in the site plan. I mean, those are, the height was reduced to 100 feet from 150. We have the color. We have you've chosen the monopole, presumably because you felt that was the least visibly intrusive. So that's part of mitigation. You've added the slats and landscaping around the base of the tower is part of mitigation. Are there any other elements of the site plan that have been added to mitigate the aesthetic impacts?
We added landscaping in front of the fencing.
Yes, I said that. Landscaping in front of the fencing and then the slats on the fencing.
Yeah.
Anything else that I miss anything?
There is landscaping?
We added a row of trees. Yes, we did.
No, we.
I agree to do landscaping. It was on the next site plan, but I will do the landscaping. There was a request made because of when we had a discussion about the tree buffer, if we could add some trees directly in front of the tower.
In front of the fencing, yeah.
Exactly, in front of the fencing on the Route 22 side, and our client said they would provide some.
In front of the fencing, meaning down low.
Right next to the fencing, between the fence and the roadway. We can discuss the
In the
exact.
Alright,
so that is-
but-
but
where we
it's
can.
the side between the fencing and Route 22.
All right, so it's you're agreeable to do some plantings.
We can do 5 trees of a taller size. 12 feet to start. And then, but exactly what was discussed at the meeting was along the side that faces Route 22, because of the discussion about the native buffer strip. If we could provide the additional landscaping, and we did offer that. This has been a meeting that's 3 days later, so we don't have it on plans, but we are making this representation to this board. This will be on the plans. We will include at least 5 trees, 10 to 12 feet starting planting. And just one comment about location. This was a town law that went through when they adopted the town law, its own secret process, and went through a generic environmental impact likely as part of that process. So the location was already reviewed on environmental.
And just, man, when you were talking about mitigation, did you also reference the coloring of the pole?
Yep, I have, so the height, my list is the height, was reduced to 100 feet, the color, and by location, I mean that it's, the way it's framed, it's down below, the base is below the road. From different locations, it's, got the landscape behind it, the fencing with the slats, and the new news about the landscaping, the trees to be planted between the buffer and the base of the tower. So I guess the question is, do all of those mitigations, when you take them all into consideration, does that affect the level of magnitude of impacts? Do you feel that it's done enough? Is all that can be done? Are there other things that can be done? So take that into consideration.
For me, that helps in the magnitude, but it doesn't really change the magnitude, but it's really an issue about the quality aspect of it for me in terms of how it damages people's use of the space or appreciation of the space or acceptance of the space. And I as much as it is physically something there, I don't see it having a significant impact in that regard. So that's just mine.
Anybody?
I think.
Well, tell them others feeling. Are you feeling similar?
I
Well, like I said, my big concern is seeing it along Road 22. I'm sorry we don't have any other pictures of, driving north on 22. And, and I also really feel that once there's all these other companies on there and it's not just like the one, it's like 4 other rows of antennas on there, that makes it so huge and so industrial looking. If it was, just the one, that would reduce it a lot, in my opinion.
You mean one carrier?
Yeah.
The code,
Not on that.
our code says we should encourage co-location. So,
We can't, we can count on that.
yes.
I think y'all know how I feel. I mean, like I said, I don't think it's gonna change people coming here, but it is huge. It is a
I
huge
just think it's
industrial
something
thing that you can't just be like, yep, no, there's no impact because
We're
people are
not
gonna.
saying there's no impact.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying anyone is saying that. I'm just saying in
We are saying there is
documentation
an
of
impact.
these
We are saying
conversations.
there is. There is
Right.
an impact. It is what it is.
Right, the other problem is that our hands are tied on this. It is an allowable use. It is in the stoves. It is in our zoning law. We do have cell tower laws.
I don't like half the houses they build.
You know, yeah.
We don't agree.
Yeah, agree.
My shirt.
What shirt is that?
Says I'm an architect, your house is ugly.
Yeah.
I don't, I just want your house is ugly.
You know, they're much more environmentally disturbing than.
The other thing we're not mentioning at all, there is a safety factor involved closing that gap.
What do you mean?
Well, you'll have.
Oh, the safety on the road.
There's an
Communication.
op-
Yeah,
an
there is a safety
a little bit of
factor.
an op-
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, getting back to this though. I still am confused if we're talking in the general scope here, or
We are.
I feel like we should go through each of these and have discussion.
But
Or-
they're all
similar.
Think
They're
it's
also
all around the
similar.
same-
They're about the
About the visual
aesthetic, they're about
impact.
the- yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
It's
all right.
all the visual impact. We could have cell service and nobody could see it.
Right.
There'd be
We
no
don't-
problem.
there'd be no problem.
Yes.
I have no job.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would like it, yes.
Yeah, so, you know, I am very concerned that the community that has come before us and written tons of things and spent money hiring lawyers, it is extremely significant to them.
Yeah.
They have to see it every day. It's in their view, you know, every day.
But for
They've been
seeker-
basing
but
it on
for
an
seeker-
opinion, not
but for
on
seeker-
fact.
But also, but for seeker. that's
Alma
not
has
what
a really
we're
good
doing.
point. We're not talking about
We're
that
not
tonight.
talking about that.
Right.
For
We can talk
seeker.
about that.
Right,
But
but she's
when we do-
mentioning all the neighbors that
But,
came.
yes, but when we do the SUP, we can, you know, the
Right.
special use permit and the site plan review, we can talk about.
We would also like to.
We can't deny it after we give it an next
that.
deck.
Not this, but we can, we're gonna give the next deck, but we still have to go with a site plan review, right? We haven't done
We
that.
would all just like to respect this, there's a noticeable difference in the amount of public opposition since we dropped the height of the facility fund. There's been a lot less people coming to these meetings.
I
I'm not
don't think
sure.
that that's an
Yes.
accurate,
Yeah,
I think that
I don't know.
because
Well,
people
in-
busy
In any case,
busy
for
many
this
times.
purpose,
getting
that's
a lot.
not part of the consideration.
Yeah, how many people are on Zoom?
There are also 13, including Nan, Jane.
Including, yeah.
And the.
People went to bed.
Yeah, no kidding.
And should be there
They're
also.
all,
City scan.
so.
So there's 10.
Maybe 8.
So the final thing that we are aiming for here is whether from all the things that we said were moderate to large, and does that add up to, and I mean, I'm a little confused that we have to go through all this. What's the final? We're determination
No, we-
whether the impact is significant.
We pick an A, B, or C.
See on here, upon
One.
review of.
Right, so the chart is just to help us.
And help us.
Yeah, the chart is I just thought it might be a tool to help you focus your analysis on the moderate to large impacts that you identified. The bottom line is you're trying to determine whether the aesthetic impacts that you have identified are significant adverse environmental impacts. They might be impacts, it might be adverse impacts, but are they significant to, going back to George, the statement that George read, is it significant in that it's diminishing the public's enjoyment and appreciation of that resource? That's really, I correct me, George, if I'm wrong, but
No, that's
that
right.
to me
That's
seems like the
exactly
bottom
right.
line.
And so, if we're saying, yes, it is significant, then what happens next?
Well, the
That would issue a positive declaration, which moves the seeker process into a new phase of evaluation. Then an environmental impact statement would have to be written. There would be most likely scoping to narrow the issues that you want analyzed. It would look at alternatives. The environmental impact statement would look at cumulative impacts and would give you more information on those impacts and how they could be mitigated.
Don't we have to give you a reason why we believe?
Oh yeah, we have to have a sound rationale for why, we have to have a rationale for both sides. If you issue a negative declaration, we will have a written set of statements that back up why and how you reach that decision, what information you had to use to reach that decision, and the rationale that you gave before it. And if you decide that it's a positive deck, then we also have to have rationale as to what caused you to determine that it was a significant impact.
So if your decision is challenged, whichever way it goes, is challenged in court, your first responsibility is you have to explain the basis for your decision. And you have to point to evidence in the record that supports your decision. What the courts look at is whether the decision was rational and supported by substantial evidence in the record.
My one problem right now is that it's 9:30 and I feel like I'm having trouble focusing.
Well, that's what happens with these, yeah.
Go through this.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we're all.
I feel like I want to look at this in like kind of fresh eyes again.
I hate to keep dragging this on to the next meeting. Can't we give our consultants direction for phase 3? I mean, are we going to come up with something of any magnitude that's going to give us a positive declaration?
So my feeling is this is a very long-term impact. Once it's up there, it's up there. It's and it really just comes down to what the it's that quality issue, and for some people it's very high, and for some people it's not going to matter. That's where I'm going to stop.
You know, we're trying to please everybody.
It's not trying to please everybody. It's respecting the
Well,
opinions.
yeah.
You know,
We're as explained, we're answering SEQA. We're not, it's
well, I know, but
it's not site plan, and it's certainly not a popularity contest.
no,
That's
no,
the problem with this
not looking at it
process.
that way. I'm just trying to understand, you know, when we talk about the issue of equality, and for equality means different things to different people, and
Yes.
so, and that's the difficulty here. And it is visible from everywhere, which is an issue, and it's be there. And it's probably only going to get a little bigger.
I think
It would be more helpful to know if it's 120 feet.
No, it's 100 feet.
I don't think we can approve or discuss something that's not in front of us. 100 feet is what's in front of us.
you have to proceed on the basis of a 100-foot tower, Red. We'll look into it. If there's a reason to change that, we'll let you know. But that's what the position is right now. And you guys have to sort of just get in touch with yourselves with the understanding the rules and the considerations that have been given to you. Somebody in communities has to make the decisions about these things, and it's you guys. And so ultimately you have to follow your own lights and your own conscience and your own understanding. You know, you're bound to apply the rules. So you have to give credence to the guidance and make the best decision that you can.
So we could only answer A or C, but not B on this,
Well, we can answer B.
but if that's a condition negative declaration may be used for unlisted action only.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to this one.
Oh, it doesn't.
So it's either a negative declaration or a positive declaration.
Okay.
So we're determining that right now, negative or positive. Yep.
That's what the next question from.
Yeah.
And it's not just determining that, but you have to be able to, your consultants are gonna help you.
To back that up.
Draft
Support,
decision,
just support
whatever
it.
that is, you need to give us enough information that we're able to create an explanation and to be able to point to the evidence in the record that you think is driving your decision.
So this is just a suggestion. I don't know if this will help, and so it's up to the board. So I think that we've had a really nice discussion over the macro view, the significance of the macro view for the aesthetics. And I think that's been a really helpful process because it kind of gets the juices flowing and kind of figure out, you know, where should we be looking? Where are the concerns to be located? But what if we kind of, now that we've had that macro view of the aesthetics, what if we took Tom's question and then just go through the ones that are individually marked, like think of 9A, proposed actions may be visible from officially designated road. Now that we kind of have an understanding of what the board considers to be a significant impact based on aesthetics, we can maybe evaluate each of those individually. It might go a little bit quicker rather than kind of looking at a big picture. It might help narrow the view, and then you can kind of cross off on some things that definitely aren't significant, raise questions that might be significant.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, either that or we put this down and then get a chance to think about the whole thing.
My only feel is I still don't feel like we've defined what significant impact is. Like if we're saying the only significant impact is people aren't gonna come to Antrim anymore, I don't think that's fair. No, it's visible.
We're not saying.
No, I'm not saying anyone is saying anything. I'm saying we as a collective have yet to be like, what does impact mean? Like we're saying significance might equate to importance, but like, and we're listening to like what impact in all these vague things, but in this.
George, read it again.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to read a sentence here. So aesthetic impact occurs when there is a detrimental effect on the perceived beauty of a place.
Perceived beauty. Right.
That's
really
well,
This might help. So one of the
for every person.
So, well, I would think of it as more like, so for example, we established it's going to be a long duration. It's going to, once it's built, we understand that, right? Or some, you know, if it's going to be tall, right? We've understood that. You know, like taking it, not like, instead of trying to really think of it as like, okay, is it significant? Yes or no? Go back to that breakdown. Okay, we know that it's going, once the duration is long-term. We understand that. So is that going to be impacting what you see on Route 22? But you're only going to see it for a little bit. Like that's what you have to kind of break down some of those minutiae. Yes, it's long-term. You're going to see it for 30 seconds. Is that significant? For, you know, taking the Route 22 option.
But again, I just feel like some people, like Joe said, it'll go up and everyone will be like, ah, and then they won't even notice it in a couple of months. And then other people, you know,
Right.
like me, will stand there and like cry because the valley's ruined forever. You know, like it's just, how can you,
So you have to take the emotion out of what we do, unfortunately. We have a job and we're given that job and we have to.
I'm not internalizing my decision. I'm just saying some people, just like some people might not notice it. I'm professional, thank you. My point being is, if the perceived value of our statement is that, then
We didn't finish reading it. You didn't let me finish.
I didn't.
I can keep going if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay. Mere visibility of a project should not be a threshold for decision making. Instead, a project, by virtue of its visibility, must clearly interfere with or reduce the public's enjoyment or appreciation of the appearance of the significant place. Significant aesthetic impacts are those that may cause a diminishment of public enjoyment and appreciation of the inventoried resource, or one that impairs the quality of a place.
That's the closest that we can get you to what you have to decide. And that comes straight from DEC. So that's not being filtered through a consultant or it's just, you know, we're parking you right in front. And
That's
you
the
guys have to take it the rest of the way.
I mean, you can ponder it some more if you feel that you have to take some time. I would recommend that if you don't want to make a decision or a straw poll on it tonight, that maybe George could send that statement around so everyone could read it on their own.
Absolutely.
You could each take that chart and work out what you think.
Yeah.
And bring it back to another meeting and we compare how everyone filled that chart out.
I think if we do that, we have to kind of reach the agreement together that everybody comes to that meeting prepared, knowing that, tonight
To think about
you're
it.
gonna make a decision.
Could we?
Or do you just make the decision
I mean,
tonight with the information that you have?
We really feel like people's
Yeah.
perceptions are gonna change.
Well, that's.
We want to make sure we consider everything.
I want to make sure
You know, I think anything you put in that valley will diminish.
Exactly, right.
So
Yeah.
we should either have no building there at all, not allowed anything. Or, we have to say
I mean, what
things
you've
that are allowed, that are mitigated, that, yes, it has an impact. But
I mean, the argument for thinking about it a little bit is, to me, is that you guys have been going through a process, right? And you're sort of, you're focusing your attention on the pieces of the process as you go through, and it's a series of steps. Tonight, you're kind of zeroed in now on what the final question is, okay?
Sure.
You may not have had a chance to think about it in those terms before today, and if additional time is something that's going to make a difference to you, then maybe there might be a benefit to sleeping on it and coming back to another meeting, having had a chance to maybe read the material that George circulates to you and to have a chance to say, okay, we've reached the point of the ultimate question. I'm going to think about it. I know we have to come back at X date and we're going to have to reach a consensus come hell or high water at that date.
I mean, that would be my preference. I'd actually even like to try to write the decision out by itself so I can lay out the arguments. It's just for myself.
Well, I think
Just to help me
everybody, if they come back to, because of the job that the consultants have to do for you next. I think if you do come back to the meeting, you need to come in with two things. You need to come in with what your opinion is on what the decision should be, but you also need to come in with a bullet list of the reasons based on evidence that you guys have seen in the record that supports the position that you've taken.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have to put that
And we
stuff
have a
together.
lot of information here, and I just, honestly, if it was earlier, it might be better, but right now I feel like I don't want to make this decision at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I think it's too important to
Doesn't-
do that.
Stop the process of either if there's any other mitigation options. Because when we go through site plan or special use.
Well,
permit-
what's in front of you for the environmental review is what's in front of you. I mean, the latest change is the applicant's agreement to do some planting behind the buffer. But what you have, what your decision has to be based on the site plan that's in front of you.
But if we do it with conditions, then we think of another condition, like another mitigation.
That could be discussed, but you'd have to have a consent, whatever you do next, you gotta reach a consensus on it.
But that's what he is.
But that would be up to the applicant whether they're willing to entertain making further changes.
But-
They're also anxious about the time and we have to try to keep things moving.
But is that, just for understanding, isn't that what BVO is like? Yes, we're saying this has a significant, but we think we could
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, mitigation is all about whether you're able to bring an identified impact below the level of significance.
I think.
Yeah.
Right, we can't do a conditional negative if it's the wrong type of
So
action.
it is only A and C.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
Well, you can have conditions on the site plan or the special use permit.
okay. Sorry, we were confused there. So it is only A and C.
Do we come back at our regular meeting? Do we give ourselves another meeting like this?
I don't know if we could get it on the one of these.
Come back.
Oh, we had trouble getting this one.
Do we have a lot on the do we have anything on the March agenda? That
We're gonna have 4 or 5 lot line adjustments.
okay.
Well, we have solar too.
And so.
Whoa.
So, I mean, aren't they supposed to come back, I mean.
Yeah, but the
Well, we
deadline-
have the LA meeting next Wednesday, so until we, and then. after-
LA meeting.
Landscape or.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I sent you guys an email. Did you get it about putting them?
I don't want to talk about that right now,
Yeah.
but that email warrants further discussion.
Yeah, well, if they're not a complying application, they're,
Yep.
all right, well, we gotta talk about that.
We're gonna have an offline discussion about that,
Okay.
but I think that
There's also-
actually opens. That's an invitation to review budget. Okay, which we'll do. Okay, it may not be, we can talk later about this, but it may not make sense for Ancrum PV to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Not unless they
I
come
mean,
back.
unless it might be appropriate if the landscape architect's report is ready. And and that can be presented to the board, and you may want to have some discussion about that if you want. And I think that I remember that the applicant's supposed to be unifying the visual impact analysis so that we can just give it to George and make sure nothing was missed. But those are the only 2 things. I think they've said that they're chosen to stand pat on the rest of the application.
yeah, it didn't seem that. she was
Yeah.
Gonna do anything else, just waiting for us to make the secret determination.
My point was, they need a zoning variance. They gotta go get a zoning variance. They can't get a zoning variance unless they have a neg deck from us when they site plan.
We're gonna talk about that and what,
right.
well, we're gonna help make a
They're in a
record.
no-win situation.
We're
We
gonna
need
help.
to have another meeting.
We're gonna help make a recommendation to you. It may be worthwhile at some point. We may have to have an attorney-client meeting with the board to
Okay.
give you legal advice, but anyway.
Monica says we can down all in on the house closed, so. that-
Monday,
yeah.
what day?
Monday's a holiday.
I'm not available the week of 16th, when we scheduled this meeting.
Right, you're
we're
on it.
not available, but, just as far as timing, so when we, scheduled the shop talk, I just wanna know, with the next meeting, if this was on the March 5th of the regular meeting, the board wouldn't be taking a secret determination that, right, they would be taking a straw vote, right? So again, one of the reasons why we had this special meeting was because we were concerned about if we do get a neg deck, we want to remove the 7 trees that need to be removed before the tree clearing restriction goes into place. So I am amenable to giving the board another night to review this. But we would just want to make sure that we had the ability to get the secret determination within enough time for us to take down the trees before April 1st. So if there was a potential to have another special meeting the week of the 23rd, or have this on March 5th, and then have another special meeting the 2nd week of March, we'd be willing to do that, but we're cutting it pretty close to us getting a secret determination and being able to remove the trees, because again, we don't remove the trees before the April 1st, that delays the whole project for like 8 months, and we do have a shot clock there, so if there's anything that can be done, so that
That lot goes to the approved, not to.
agreed, but it goes to the building permit, so
But
Our point is
is
just
the
that-
26th of open to
Yeah.
anyone?
there's a way, I'm free.
I can't do this one.
Uh,
26th.
Hold on, February 26th?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Another special meeting on the 26th of February.
I should be able to do that. Sorry, I was thinking March.
I can make the 26th.
I'm sure you can.
Sorry?
Phil?
I can yes, I can make the 26th.
26, 26, 26.
26?
No, for me,
No,
but I could.
but you can let us know. Dan.
She would be here.
The only question I then have is that for your professionals, if a decision was made by you on the 26th, does that give your professionals enough time to draft materials for the March 15th?
Yes, no? Is that
I
yeah?
don't, I don't know. I don't know the decision.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say, David, is I understand your client's perspective, but we have to fulfill a responsibility and.
Just
And then there's another issue, because I believe the site plan law, this alteration of the site has an equivalent for the 617.3 of the secret. Site plan regulation. Yeah, we do, that.
There's also provisions in the local code that has some waivers though, so it's 7 trees we're talking about. I mean, we're.
Yeah, this determination is a DEC determination about cutting the trees
So what happens,
after March.
so what happens is, right, so the federal government for endangered species, for the northern Indian bats. What they've said is, so you don't take the habitat, they don't want you to remove trees during their roosting season. So they put a tree clearing restriction in place. If you were going to remove trees where there's an identified pest, longing bats or any of bats, you don't remove trees from April 1st to November 1st. So we're just trying to comply with that, and that's.
You can bring an arborist in to determine.
Pristine trees and whether
Right.
it has to be within a certain distance of.
Fish and Wildlife, basically,
But-
it's on the map, or is
We have a letter from Fish and Wildlife who've asked us as part of our project to adhere to that tree clearing. And that has also been requested for the bog turtle as well. So there's a lot of reasons why we're going.
Can't you bring in an arborist to determine?
And so the US Fish and Wildlife has asked us for not only for the Indian bats, but the bog turtle impacts to apply with that disturbance restriction. They want to make sure that the disturbance is not going to.
I thought you could bring in an arborist to determine there are any trees in the trees.
You can see that the applicant is also going through a NEPA process and SHPA process, and part of that NEPA process, US Fish and Wildlife has said they recommend that we just comply with that restriction.
Okay.
So
Try it out.
Do we want to go, for 6 p.m. on the 26th?
Yeah, make it earlier.
Should we go earlier on 26th?
If you want.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
if things run
Okay.
late. Yeah, that's hard for me too. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
3:30. So I at least need it in the end.
Do we need to make a motion for this?
Hold on, 6 p.m. on the 26th.
Having that one and make a motion to get ourselves out of here.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we plan the second working group meeting on February 26th at 6 p.m. for Homeland Security hours. Homeland Security. Homeland.
That's getting big.
And can I make a suggestion, Tom?
Yeah.
The addition to the motion that planning board members understand that you should come to the meeting prepared to have make a decision and to be able to explain the reasons supporting your particular vote on the decision. Okay. It's
So,
really important.
If I'm not here, but I can send that in. I mean, this is a actual vote that the board is making, because I can't.
Oh, it's a straw.
It's straw
Bravo.
vote. I can send in. I can email.
We'll write it up and then it'll be brought back to you and you'll take a formal vote to adopt. what
I
has
see.
been written.
Okay.
She just wants a vote informal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a vote in the second.
Yeah, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our motion to leave.
Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
But you guys are, I really respect this.